ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति वसुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रम् नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम् मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनम् नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्मनमा we will chant because available, you can practice it. Let's start the class. The whole Tattva Bodha has started with Sadhana Chatushtaya. And however much a student of Vedanta finds himself interested in the topic of Atma, it is our job as in those who teach the subject or who just share the knowledge, to remind everyone from time to time and again that the intake of Brahma Gyan, how much will you absorb and retain, and how much is the knowledge a living perception. Brahma Gyan is a living perception that is called Jivan Mukti. It is not an acquired knowledge. It is not a knowledge of a subject, the clarity of which will make you Brahman. It's not that. It is a knowledge that the clarity of which will remove the delusions of who you think you are, will remove your wrong understanding, your wrong conclusions about yourself as thinking that you are a form, you are born, you die, etc. So Brahma Gyan is a living perception. It does not necessarily mean that your vyavhar will be in accordance to the knowledge that you are holding within yourself, because vyavharic life will a lot be dependent upon the other person whom is in vyavhar with. So vyavharic life has shades of variations, but the internal perception that a person holds, and only the person can be true to it, only the person can recognize, or another person who can recognize is the person who is as awakened as the other person, the Jivan Mukta. So it is what Shakespeare said, only a Milton knows a Milton. Everybody else is only interpreting poetry. Everybody else has an interpretation of what Milton said. But when someone else is a Milton, he doesn't need an interpretation of what Milton said. He just recognizes, He knows. He knows. That knowing is very distinct and different form of knowing. It's a recognizing knowing. It is a recognition of, it is a knowing of recognition. It is knowing of an awareness. That recognition is literally called knowing. And if you know through all the methods in which that poetry is interpreted, etc. That is also knowing, but it will probably help and aid in the final knowing of recognition. It's not to be discarded. It is going to help, certainly. The point here is Tattva Bodha, this author, Shankaracharya, in the lineage of Shankaracharyas, this likely, I'm repeating, concluding, so I'm repeating, likely may not be Adi Shankaracharya's work himself, but it is still given the same status because whoever Shankaracharya has written in the lineage is an esteemed teacher, is a teacher in the parampara, and he has tried for the sake of students, brought the entire vision of knowledge in the Shrutis and brought it in this small text, which we have still gone into a lot of elaboration. We all know it could have been finished in 30 classes and less also, but the idea is that this lays the foundation of future Vedantic perception. If the foundation is correct in a person's life, means your foundation is strong with right information. That's what it is meant by correct foundation. It has the right information. You have the right information in your thinking. Then whatever you grow as Vedantic knowledge further, reading other texts or listening to anyone else or studying from anywhere else, or it's a free thing after that for you, the knowledge will come through the right filter. That foundation has been strong because of that. And this Shankaracharya has been also very, very diligent and kept sadhana chatushtayam as the first part of the text. Many people have dismissed it as it's just qualities, or it's just values, or it is just shamadamadi shatakam, it will bring chitta shuddhi. It's more theoretical, it is more superficial in their understanding. They do not see the value of it. They do not connect the value of sadhana chatushtayam to Brahma Gyan. They want to bypass the sadhana chatushtayam, and they think that by just gaining the Brahma Gyan, just gaining about Brahman is this and Brahman I am, that Mahavakya Gyanam, the last part that Tattva Bodha spoke of, just by gaining that Gyanam, likely that you get some knowledge. No, it will never happen. So there's no point in living in castles. Unless and until, in fact, the correct proportion in which you are getting the knowledge is correctly proportioned to already acquired sadhana chatushtayam. We have been inspired by this subject. The lineage tells us, and these are not what I am saying, the lineage tells us, if inspiration has held you so far in knowledge, that means there is a certain degree of sadhana chatushtayam already acquired. Otherwise, the interest itself cannot surface. So, for someone to hold interest means it is kind of taken for granted that the sadhana chatushtayam must have been covered, because you are getting, you are coming to the knowledge to get some knowledge out of it, not get some other desire fulfilled out of it. There is only one idea, to learn what the Shastra is saying, and not that I will get some money or I'll get some fame. Nothing of those laukik motivations are behind the learning. So sadhana chatushtayam is a major part, and as we conclude this, it will be a great reminder to ourselves also that if the majority part of our lives outlook remains around how am I equipping myself to receive the knowledge, automatically what I will receive will be received at the right point. It will be received as the knowledge is to be received. Now he has said, finishing the sadhana chatushtayam, he came to the major prakriya. It's a huge prakriya of Atma and Atma Vichar, because it is this Jnana Marg, it is this Jnana Yoga, as people in the world would call it, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. Not that any of these really are distinct and different. It is just that if you need sadhana chatushtayam, then karma and upasana will be more directly helpful there. knowledge will not directly help so much in sadhana chatushtayam, because this is like, brasso effect. If your brass vessel is oxidized, then you cannot just say, I will just apply one layer of, I know that this solution works, this, and so it will clean. You will have to rub it a bit, thoda mehnat karna padta hai for the brass to re-shine again. The same thing is with antakaranam. If our antakaranam has ragadvesh, ahankar, jivatva, buddhi, expectations of fruits from the future, and very short immediate gain, fulfillment kind of a thing, and most of our minds, we all know, is carrying what nature of thoughts. That tells us how much sadhana chatushtayam we need also. So when the broad outline of a life is settled on saying major focuses, let me take life's opportunities to keep, brasso effect to myself, to my mind, whatever opportunity, wherever I can, every time. Everything may not be an opportunity. Every time I may not want to be I may not be in a frame of mind that I can apply the brasso effect to myself, but wherever I can, if that is kind of nailed down, it's like, you nail this thing down, that in a life there is going to be this focus, that first priority, immediate priority is my sadhana chatushtayam minimum must at least keep holding itself. And then I keep getting the knowledge, and that knowledge will keep developing and making the mind more and more purified. So after that, knowledge starts purifying a lot further, faster, quicker. That is how the Gyan Marg works. So once the Prakaranam of Srishti Prakriya started, the idea of Srishti Prakriya was not to give a theory of creation. The idea of Srishti Prakaranam is to develop the insight to see that creator and creation are inseparable to each other. The idea of a creator is inseparable to creation. Even if you say it is inert, there is a causation, there is a link established between creation has come from something, from somewhere. Creation has begun. So that idea itself is positing a creator. You can give it any name. This creator, establishing the nature of creator in Vedas, in the Vedic view, is very important, because it is this establishment of the creator as Ishvara that the whole cycle of Tattvamasi gets completed. If you remove Ishvara from the picture, then the creator has no name. It can be material, it can be matter, it can be elements, it can be that whole periodic table of chemistry, it can be Big Bang. There will be theories after theories, and it's not conclusive. The theories are not conclusive of what it is, of who is the creator. So once they establish who is the creator, and that the nature of creator and the nature of the individual is one and same, they are not different. That nature of individual is very, through certain learning, is still easily graspable, because I claim myself to be a conscious being. I claim myself to be alert and aware. Because I claim myself to be conscious, it is still possible to say, okay, this conscious is all pervasive. Why all? Because everything that falls in my perception gets revealed, and any object can fall. To the extent that, say, in our meditation, in the expansion meditation, you say, okay, I see the whole universe in my mind. Even in waking state, when you study physics, you go to planetariums, and through the powerful telescopes, when you look up to the stars, it's fascinating. When you see the whole Milky Way, certain places like Ladakh and these places, you can see the whole Milky Way from certain points. And it's interesting because you are seeing something as vast, which is not just eyes are reaching there. It's not just a matter of eyes to collect the information. It is a matter of that whole perception has to fall into your awareness. My eye can see, but if I'm not aware of it, I don't get the perception. So though my eye seems to be only seeing whatever is in front of it, and if through the telescope I see the whole universe must be accommodated in awareness. Only then will I be able to become aware of my perception. So Shastra says that through Srishti Prakriya, you are able to arrive at a common cause. Because what you see here as awareness, this nature of this awareness is not restricted to just this body, height and weight. It is not just restricted to the mind that you have and the qualities and the thoughts that you entertain. This nature of consciousness is the one which is also revealing the creation entirely. So this consciousness here is actually non-separate from everything that you see in creation as living and inert. It is a very huge leap in human grasp of knowledge that you are able to arrive at one and only one is the truth. That truth is non-dual, and that non-dual, arriving at the non-dual perception in oneself means you are accepting or you are correcting the division felt, the duality felt of creation and yourself and you who is a searcher of the truth, of happiness, say, of fullness. You kind of are completing that perception. So there is no division left in your inner perception. Once this inner perception is like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle is settled, and there is no longer any vritti arising of the jiva bhav and the steadiness of Brahma Gyan. The Gyan that I am Brahman and this Brahman is non-separate, it's universally the source of everything, in which everything falls. This is as expansive as that. So Brahman and Atman are no longer two things that have to be reconciled. It is one Brahman in which everything is falling, like it is one dreamer in whom the whole dream world has come with the subject and object division and the plurality seen in the dream. This kind of an unwavering Nishchaya Jnanam, he said here, Nishchayatmika Jnanam, the one whose inner perception is held firm through, I would say initially, through the vicissitudes of life, through all the ups and downs, through everything, that becomes the initial tapas for the one who is in Jnana Yoga. That holding the perception even when things seem to be, the Jiva Bhav wants to surface again or wants to establish its ground. It's like that inner war as said in Gita. So by the time we come to Gita, this will now start expanding if you don't forget what you have read in Tattva Bodha. If you forget, that's okay, it gets repeated, never mind. But if you remember it, then by the time you come to Gita, that tug of war that is represented between Pandavas and Kauravas, that is the Jivatva Buddhi and Brahma Buddhi, the tug of war between them. So once you've gained Vedantic knowledge, you have clarity about it, there is no doubts left, through Prashnena, through Chitta Shuddhi, the knowledge is kind of clear to my mind. Now the responsibility will be to own it up. It's no longer that I can hold the knowledge in one part of my compartment, the frontal lobe or the whichever parietal lobe or some lobe. I just hold the information over here in that brain center and I continue to hold that vision of Jivatva. You can, that's okay, no problem. But whenever that information wants to now speak about owning up, the first stage is to get information, which fairly now you have. The second stage will be when you want to own it up. Between that, there may be many janmas, many years, doesn't matter. Whatever time, it's irrelevant. That owning up process, whoever has concluded, Who's a Jivan Mukta? Who has owned up that Brahma Gyan. Every Jivan Mukta has started from acquiring the Brahma Gyan. In the same manner, through, here he says, Vedanta Vakya Sadguru Rupa Upadeshena. That Vedanta Vakya which is explained through Sadguru means, Sadguru here means Sat Guru, Guru who explains the Sat. I'm repeating myself because somehow Sadguru has become a proper noun now. So I am just clarifying, Sadguru is actually meaning the Guru who explains the Sat, and Sat here is pure existence. The Guru, so it's not just a name of anyone. It is that it is given as what is it called? It is ornated so that whoever is explaining the Sat is a Sadguru. So that's fine. Everyone can, proper noun can also come from it. That's not the point. But what we want to add is, what we benefit from is, what is that Vedanta Vakya, explainer of that Vedanta Vakya, which is causing the destruction. And now you know what we mean by destruction of Ajnana Upadhi, which destroys the Ajnana Upadhi, which brings it to ashes. That Upadesha through which your Ajnan lifts up, destroys. And there is an inner perception that you get deeper into. There's suddenly this unfoldment of clarity further. Something that you may have wondered or thought, but you still continue to be, somehow there is a perception that forms which changes something inside. That Upadesha, which is based on Vedanta Vakya, not on a personal model of spiritual development. It's not a personal model. Personal models is not Shastra's vision. We don't need personal models here. Vedanta is complete in itself. Vedas are complete, and in fact Vedas, as I have been saying again and again, are oriented to give moksha to person. Why do we need anything else? Why do we need any other model at all in the first place? Understanding Vedanta and Vedas approach itself is a lifelong process because there's so much infiltration that has happened, covering up the real meaning and distorting the meaning, that to undo all that distortion and arrive at the right meaning itself is such a huge task. Why complicate it further by giving personal views to it? So, Vedanta Vakyehi Sadguru Rupa Upadeshena. Whoever, Jivan Mukti will be in one life, whichever, whenever. All culmination of your efforts, all your previous lifetimes. It'll be culminating because this is one effort that Shastra promises to us again and again. Even a little effort in this direction is not wasted. You carry the phala of it, Janma Janmantar, till it fructifies to your Jivan Mukti, to a Jivan Mukta state. These are what Shastra says to us. Till it reaches that point, every effort is worthwhile because there is only effort which has no kshaya. We just studied every karam phal will have kshaya, will have destruction. But this doesn't fall in the realm of karma. Anything done, even in the pursuit through organs of action, like if you're writing notes, you're absorbing knowledge, you're listening, these are all karmas from Laukik Vyavhar. But the intention or the purpose of it behind is knowledge. And the knowledge, the topic of which is Brahman, which is you yourself. So this knowledge and whatever karma associated with the knowledge means physical karma, mental karma. Now if I'm teaching, I am now engaged in karma. This is an action. This teaching is an action. This speaking to your voice, and this is a karma. This is not sitting in contemplation in a samadhi avastha or in just a solitude and reflecting on myself, and I'm meeting no one and I'm seeing no one, and therefore I can be with the knowledge. But the minute I engage with someone else, it is already karma started. This nature of karma is different. This is in fact not karma. This doesn't qualify as karma. It will qualify as karma to the extent the jiva bhav would propel the action, and yes, for which punya, phal and etc. will come. But as part of Jnana Anga, as a part of knowledge, as a subsidiary to help gain knowledge, because unless and there is someone who talks about the knowledge, how does someone learn? So this becomes an Anga of Jnana. This nature of karma and learning has no Shaya. Its Shaya is only in destruction of avidya. It causes the destruction of avidya. That once the avidya is gone, Maya Upadhi is, the Upadhi, Jiva Upadhi is gone, Jivatva Buddhi is gone. Thereafterwards, whatever this Jivan Mukta does, engages in society for the sake of society, that's the point Loka Sangraha starts. In the 3rd chapter of the Gita, Krishna emphasizes a lot on Yajna, Karma Yoga, and Loka Sangraha, work for the sake of Loka Sangraha. A Jnani alone works for Loka Sangraha. And that Loka Sangraha means now what happens to the karmas that he is doing? It still has that locus of someone performing a karma. So what happens to this? So this Jivan Mukta, when he does a karma, Shastra says that he is freed from all bonds, and all the 3 karmas, Agami, Sanchit, Prarabdha. Agami and Sanchit karmas are completely burnt, destroyed. The locus is gone, Karta Bhav is gone, Jiva is not there. It is a very difficult example. The only best example is Shastra's example. If I say that I see a snake there, and you all know the whole description. I'll save time by not giving the description. The minute you see a snake, what happens? All that was samsara. But somewhere someone comes and shakes you up a bit and says, look closely. Don't be fearful. ध्यान लगा के देखो. थोड़ा, बत्ती जगा के देखो. अंदर की. थोड़ी अंदर की बत्ती जगाओ. Means be more alert, be more focused, be more vigilant. Be more alert and examine. Be of the nature of adventurous. Adventurous means go adventure. Go find out. Don't be scared. Shastra is like that. That's why she's called Mother Shruti. Shastra is addressed as a mother. Why? Because like a mother, she says, I stand behind you. You go and inquire that. When you inquire that, because there is someone standing behind you, pushing you, nudging you gently to say, go inquire, go inquire. And then, you see, if that person were just to say to you, this is no snake, there is no snake there. Even if you have faith, will it ever destroy the fear born of that snake completely once and for all? It can diminish it to some extent. Faith and Shraddha will help to some extent. अच्छा ठीक है ये कह रहे हैं तो नहीं होगा. But your trembling can reduce a little bit. But it is not going to go away for sure. But supposing that Mother Shruti behind says, go examine yourself. And doesn't tell you straight away that there is no snake. Just says, examine the snake. Dekho usko. Dhyan se dekho. Figure it out. Is that really a snake that you are seeing as real? Is it really real? Go figure it out. And you take that courage and you say, okay, let me just find, kya hoega zyada se zyada? And this I say is a mumukshu's life. The one who finally puts everything down on stake and says, kya ho jayega zyada se zyada? What will happen? I'll only die, no? Wo waise bhi I'm dying. Anyway, I have in avidya, what do I have? Anyway, I have punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So what? If the snake kills me now, I just die. But at least I'll die inquiring. So when I inquire, I may have a chance to find out what's the truth. And then maybe this behind me jo bar push karta na, jaake find out. And if it turns out a snake, once and for all, I can turn back and tell this Mother Shruti, you were wrong. There is a snake. I will never follow you again for the rest of my lifetimes. I can at least tell this Mother Shruti, चुप हो जाइए, क्योंकि अब मैं कभी तुम्हारे हाथ में नहीं आने वाला. I am going to live a complete sensory life. I'm going to live a complete indulgent life. Here afterwards, for no lifetime are you going to hold me. My interest is not going to be held by you because I saw a snake and the snake is real. You are the one who was wrong. But to say that also, you'll have to inquire it. But when you start inquiring it, even if it was with an intention to tell this mother Shruti ki, you are wrong, it is a snake. You are the one who is not seeing the snake. The minute you go inquire it and you shake it a little with that long danda, long stick. With a long stick, when you go shake it from far off, hands still trembling, perspiring, what do you see? Suddenly you realize, oh my God, it's not moving on its own. When I move, it moves. This allegory is very important. You'll have to translate it in your own self. When I move, it moves. If I don't move, that snake is not moving. So you go a little closer and again shake. And again, when you go very close to it, eureka, there is no snake. It's a rope. Now the question is, this Shruti was pushing you from behind to say there is a rope, there is a rope, there is a rope. If she had only gone on saying that it's a rope, it's a rope, it's a rope, but you never inquired it, will that rope vision come? You never went and saw it for yourself. Your snake doesn't get destroyed for good. Yes, there is a rope cognition as knowledge that there is a rope there probably, and I'm imagining snake. So let me not imagine a snake, but however much you say I don't imagine a snake, I still can't see the rope. This, he says, is entire perception of snake gets destroyed the minute you see the rope. That is called Agami and Sanchit gone completely. Avidya gone. Snake was because of avidya. Avidya of rope. I just don't know it's a rope. And if I don't know, it's not that I don't see anything there. This is the point which will carry till Brahma Sutra, the last thing in Vedantic study. This is the point which has a carry forward in every text of Vedanta. And it's a very essential point because this alone is what makes knowledge tangible, even to be inspired to seek it further. The minute I see. That's why in Shastra, Gyan is always equated with Drishti. It is never just said Gyan. Gyan Vijnana Yoga. It is knowledge and it is a perception formed from the knowledge. Then the knowledge is complete. If it's just a verbal hearing knowledge and it's because you memorized it, you have a good memory, so you can repeat it, but your perception is different from that knowledge, what you hold within. It's not complete yet then. So Shastra says the entire avidya is burnt for the one who has now examined the snake and seen it as rope now, equated to knowledge. The entire avidya is destroyed, means the entire jivatvam is destroyed. And everything that was born from jivatvam, the first thing born from jivatvam is aham. And aham has always been associated with mama. Mama means mine. So me and mine. Everything I do is around me and mine. What is mine? What is me? And the whole vyavhar that is set forth, the whole life is engaged around me and mine, kept steady in perception. Me is kept steady. I is kept steady as a jiva. Therefore, my and mine are also held in connection. They may vary. This is mine today, it may not be mine tomorrow, but mine doesn't go away. You may change the name and form, but mine buddhi doesn't, mine, mera, मैं or mera. This buddhi doesn't change. So, for one who has completely destroyed this avidya upadhi, for him, the entire sansara is now gone. There is no sanchit, there is no agami. Whatever karma he sets forth now, that small little gap which prarabdha karma, because of which the body is continuing to live, and it will go through its course, because only experience will destroy the prarabdha karma. Whatever that course remains, in that whatever is done, Shastra says, because here now he's not asking, but there could be a question here put forward as what happens to those karmas then? It can come into someone's minds. If all the karmas are destroyed, then who's holding the body? Then where is this body sustaining itself from? Because body has come, remember, because of karma phal. If you remember, the cause of body, the cause of annamayam is your food that you eat, and the food, the place and everything gets connected back to the cycle of karma, if you remember the class. So he said, here the whole body is, on one point you said, has come about according to your karma. It was your karma that gave birth, rise to the body. If he's got Brahma Gyan now, like I said yesterday, whoosh, he should be disappearing straight away in front of our eyes, because हो गया ब्रह्म ज्ञान तो शरीर गिर जाना चाहिए, ढेर हो जाना चाहिए, अभी के अभी ढेर हो जाना चाहिए. बट वो ढेर नहीं होता है उसका, वो फिर भी जी रहा है. And this is where Shastra says is a great blessing in nature, that there are Jivan Muktas. The whole idea of a Jivan Mukta is a Vedic vision. That Jivan Muktas then come back to society and teach this. That is real anugraha. That is real. Compassion word has also become very an emotional word. You know, who's a compassionate person? Compassion has got associated with emotions. This is compassion. Means for the sheer grace of him, for whoever's willing and who's qualified or close to qualification, for that entity, this Shastra vision gets unfolded. So that knowledge that gets handed from one generation to another generation, initially it was very strict. It was only supposed to be Brahmagyani who would teach this knowledge. And to get the company of a Brahmagyani, you had to come close enough in your adhikaratvam. Only then would you get associated with the Brahmagyani. As time passes, as Kali Yuga passes, and as Kali Yuga will advance even further, there will be deterioration of values and capacity to absorb knowledge. Things will keep changing and modifying, but the principle will never change. It cannot change, because that's the truth. What is it that here now the question could come, what is it that is holding these karmas of, what happens to those karmas because of which this Jivan Mukta has now got a body? He said, those karmas do not touch the person. Firstly, Nalini Dalagata Jalavat Jnaninam Sambandha Nasti. Those karmas, agami karmas that he after Jnanam does, whatever he acquires, that will not touch the jiva, first point. Then what happens to it? Whoever is devoted or surrendered, quote unquote, terrible words in English, don't take them in the literal sense. There's nothing really to surrender except learn. Learn for your sake. That's it. No, there is nothing called, those English terms convey a very different meaning from what Vedic vision was. But the translation becomes this. Stuvanti means you are praising. Bhajanti means you worship. There is an archayanti is again worship. There is an adoration, means you have a personal value. I'm going to speak this very, very clearly from as possible. When you have a value for something, there will always be Stuvanti, Bhajanti, Archayanti for someone you see higher than that. If I have a value for any star in the field of art or anywhere, supposing, to whom am I giving Bhajanti, Archanti? How much adoration can I do? You know, fans, that kind of a thing. It comes natural. It's a natural thing. Nobody can stop it. And you cannot pretend it. You cannot, it just arises. It's a birth of something. It's a moment where there is a birth of, because It's not because of the person, it's because you have a value for it, that you connected that value to this. And you can see that this value is reachable. That person represents there that it is reachable. It makes it possible. That grasp becomes, that is why that archanti, stuvanti, bhajanti follow automatically. Many people in the culture where it has taken a wrong turn or a short term, I would say, not wrong, but short term. People believe that by just doing stuvanti, archanti, bhajanti, of whoever they think has got, say, ochre clothes or supposed to be renunciate or supposed to be a preacher, if you just do, you will get moksha or you will get the blessing. So people just keep seeking blessings. Bless us, bless us, bless us, bless us, that blessing Vedic view is your choiceless gain. Nobody can prevent a blessing to another jiva. Nobody can give blessing to another person. That blessing is entirely your gain. As per your growth, nature blesses you. Means there is blessing abundant in creation. It comes forth. Yes, through this person, whoever is a Brahmagyani, and if there is a value felt for it and you born from that value, has been some stuvanti or bhajanti or archanti, and here it adds further sevaya, etc. That jnani kritam, whatever karmas the jnani had done, good karmas, of which punyam was to be accrued to this jnani, if he was not a jnani. If he was still an ajnani and he did good karma and there was certain punyam in the future to be accrued, as I said, there is a time gap between them, then whoever does stuvanti, bhajanti, archanti will get the punyam of it. How can this be misinterpreted? If you change the focus a little bit, whoever does this will get the punyam. So automatically, what is the cultural value coming? Whether you deserve it or not, whether you blindly you will start doing stuvanti, archayanti, bhajanti, sevaya, blindly, because you fear samsara. Because of that, you want certain protection. So instead of God being unreachable factor, itni mehnat kaun kare? Who's going to do this to earn the grace of devtas and worship and do all these? This is very taxing. Best is shortcut. You hear there is some wise person or some jnani or some whoever, something, whatever, and then just go serve the person or just go do worship of the person and just keep a photograph and maybe that will be good enough. Unless and until it is like there is a value from which it has born. How will you become a receiver of that punya phalam of it? You have a value for it. And that makes you the recipient of it. Because there may be, for every person, there may be thousands of people who are followers. To whom will the punya go then? Who are one Sadguru, supposing. He has billions of followers. How will the punya get divided to billions of followers? So difficult it will be for Chitragupta to handle this. Itna, 0.11%. It's like, kitna percent jayega each person ko? What will be the criteria? The criteria is all those will be eliminated. Even if you have done worship, puja, etc. And Shankaracharya, not this, the original means Adi Shankaracharya, clearly mentions it. Whoever will only just do stuvanti, archayanti and bhajanti is only exercising their muscles or improving their voice. It's only hard work, and the fruit of hard work will only accrue to them. So whoever does stuvanti, bhajanti, archayanti, tan prati jnani kritam agami punyam gacchati. To him the fall of agami, to them the fall of agami goes. And obviously the opposite will also be true then. What will happen to the papa karma if whatever gets accrued to the jnani He's walking, he's killed ants, he's killed, he's hurt. Maybe he didn't meant to, but somebody's got hurt, even if he had no intention. That locust can also come back to the person, because that person says, like Krishna and Duryodhana. Duryodhana says Krishna was the one who's triggered the war. Duryodhana doesn't find himself triggering the war at all. He thinks it is Krishna's manipulation which brought the Kurukshetra war entirely. Now it's gone on Krishna's head. The whole war action has gone on Krishna's head, according to someone. So whichever way the law works, but according to law which is infallible even for a Jnani. Forget Jnani. Jnani, while Jivan Mukta, of course, is non-separate from Ishvara. When even Ishvara comes as Avatara, he is also subject to the same karmas, same laws of creation. So he says, Te Jnaninam Nindanti Dvishanti. Nindanti means ninda kiya unki. They have criticized them. They have, what is the right translation for ninda? They have insulted them. Here I've said abuse verbally. It's kind of a popular translation. They have criticized, abused, means they have insulted the Jnani. Whoever has criticized, insulted, Dushanti, have inner hatred for them. For some reason. And wherever there will be a Jnani, there will be some people who hate them also. Pata nahi why. This is also the law of creation. Maybe it is to balance the Jnani's karmas. I do not know. Because it can't be just good and bad. There have to be some recipients of it. So, not from the Jnani standpoint. But from the standpoint of Loka Vyavhar, Jnani doesn't see kisne dvesh kiya hai. For him the vision is same. But from Vyavharik Drishti, there are people who will see the Jnani as with hatred or with dislike, strong dislike, jealousy. All the Jiva Bhav can be centered on the Jnani also because of Avidya Upadhi. Whoever does that, not only that, Dukkha Pradhanam Kurvanti. They have also given some sort of they've been a cause of dukh to the Jnani. जानबूझ के या inadvertently, उनके कर्म से उसको दुख हुआ है. He had to face some struggles or he had to go through some difficulty. Kurvanti. Tan prati, to them. Jnani kritam sarvam agami kriyamanam. Whatever in the lifetime he is going to now be doing, yat vachyam. Which have been spoken of as papatmakam karma, which are called as those karmas that can be called as papa karma, tat gacchati. To them those karma phal will go. So whoever condemns and criticizes the Jnanis as in evolved, or sadhaks also, sincere sadhaks also, because sincere sadhak today is a Jnani tomorrow. So whoever does ninda, dushanti, etc. to them, the minute the Jnani, even a sadhak becomes a Jnani, all the papa karma goes to enemies in that sense. One of the translations would say enemies. Not from Jnani standpoint, again I clarify. So from here then, suhradaha punyakritam durvritaha papakrityam grinanti. This is an extra pathantaram. It is not in certain texts. It is an added line. Maybe the manuscripts were different when different books were published, because originally everything was written. People wrote down the books. So there is a pathantaram, and it just is a conclusion of the same thing. Maybe it was purposely eliminated also because this sentence is really not needed. But suhradaha, those who are well-wishers of the Jnani or Brahma-Jnani, punya-kritam, all the punya goes to the well-wisher. Durvritaha, those who hold durbuddhi for them, all the papakritya grinanti, they acquire it. It's almost like inheritance. How you inherit wealth, your ancestral wealth. So who inherits it, whether you deserve it or not? Who inherits the wealth? It's almost like it has come to you without you asking. So, and some people, this portion, as I said, is not really in Shruti Vakyas. This portion is more in Dharma Granthas, Smriti Granthas, because this is seen by those who are very close to, close as in, when you have served some Brahmagyani or you've been close to a Brahmagyani and suddenly you realize there is a certain different level of anugraha that covered in your life and you just can't explain how it came. So this comes from personal experiences as if, and it's not one person. So it's been in parampara that people have again and again said it was, say, Guru's grace, it was kripa, in that sense of some ashirvad that worked in their life. So this kind of a thing floats around. So this Shankaracharya has probably just concluded the topic by saying, because it is in the realm of karma, Shruti Grantha would end it to say he gets Jivan Mukti. This topic would not really be discussed much because once he's liberated, now what is there left to discuss? It's to each one. It's your journey for liberation. So how do you acquire that journey? But this portion seems to be also there. And then he talks about, in this manner, tathacha, atma with samsaram titva. In this manner, the knowers of Atma is Brahman. The knowers of Brahman, Brahmagyani, Atmagyani, now they are the same. This Atmagyani, Brahmagyani, samsaram tirtva. They cross over samsara. Means now this ocean has always been symbolically representing samsara. As deep as ocean is and as vast as ocean is, samsara is like that. And you get lost in it. So if you try to swim from one shore to another shore of an ocean, you can't, because it's so vast that you are lost in the direction. Who saw that Pi, Life of Pi? How he had to keep figuring out his direction to the shore. So, because when you're in the shore, when you're in an ocean, there is no sense of direction. So you're lost. This is a beautiful way to describe samsara. In samsara, you get lost. So punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, and even in a lifetime itself, how many people have not said to you, even to you, your friends or acquaintances or colleagues or relatives or somebody, at some point each one of us must have heard, I feel lost. As a person, I feel lost. Or if something has happened and they say, I'm suddenly lost now. I don't know, I feel lost. This word is used as lost. Because samsara is equated to being so vast that the cognition of something guiding and leading to the right thing gets muddled up, gets confused. And if that gets confused, then that is an indicator of samsara. Brahmavid goes tirtva, samsara tirtva. He swims across. Not only that, now comes the real phal that we all seek in our lives. What do we seek? Anandam. We wanted endless anandam, so we are in sansara gati. What has he got? Brahmanandam ihaiva prapnoti. He gets here itself, not in the future after death. He's not going to go to some Swargaloka or some Brahmaloka and then get Anandam of Swargaloka and Brahmaloka, which will be finite even then. Here itself, he attains, gets prapnoti, mil jata hai. Mil jata hai means it's not कि वो एकदम से पहले था नहीं और मिल जाता है. He is Brahmanandam now. Here, we all are Brahmanandam now, here. But seen through avidya upadhi, my conclusion is I am not happy today. I am sorrowful. I am depressed. That's a good word. I suddenly undid the depressed word. Depressed word. I'm depressed. I am anxious. All these which are so real. The minute you stop the Vedanta class and you go out, all this is real in the world. Such sense of reality, it exists. So this is counter to Brahmanandam. That Brahmanandam, this person who says I'm depressed, is now only hiding further away from Brahmanandam that he himself is. So Brahmanandam is always there. And that's a huge leap in understanding. It is not something that gets acquired. There is a whole section in Brahma Sutra where this Prapanoti word gets analyzed through different schools of thought. Prapnoti, Apnoti, is it that you go? Is it you attain later? And that's where the Advaita vision clinches it to say, you are Brahmanandam now, therefore you get it. By just the removal of all things that are stopping the vision, which is only Jeev Bhav. Tarati shokam atmavit iti shrutehe. This is a quotation from an Upanishad. Tarati shokam. Tarati shokam. Atmavit. The one who is an Atmavit, Shruti says, Chandogya Upanishad says, Tarati shokam. He now crosses over shok. Shok is grief. Grief means all shades of opposite, all shades. Grief. And what does Bhagavad Gita start with? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That Vishada means Shoka. Shok and Moh are two characteristics of Arjuna when he was afflicted with it. And so he was expressing samsara at the maximum at that point, just before the war. Shok and Moh are two indicators, lakshanas. How shoki and how mohi you are two lakshanas of how in avidya you are gripped, and therefore how samsari, how deep a samsari you are. The one who has a lot of grief and a lot of delusion, and delusion brings about attachments and all those things. So, tarati shokam, once and for all now, once and for all, he's crossed over all grief. The details not necessary here. This is just a Shruti quotation. The style of any Shastra is, no Acharya worth the name says, I am saying so. Shruti has said it, so the Acharya is only explaining. That's the job of an Acharya. That's the job of Shankaracharya. He's an Acharya. His job is to explain what Shruti says. Shruti and Smriti. So having the style is that every Acharya is saying, thus said the Shruti. So he's quoting to say that this Praman, that Brahmavid crosses samsara, is said in Shruti. It's not, means you have to take Shruti as a Praman for it. Tarati shokam atmavit iti shrutehe. And not only in Shruti, he quotes one of the Smriti Granthas, which is a step below in validity from Shruti Grantha. He says, Tanum tyajatu vashyam shopachasya grihet athava. He says, Tanum tyajatu, body being discarded. On death means you are now in the final stage of your death. Just before death, you are now ready to discard the body. Whether the body is discarded in Kashi or in the house of Shropacha. Shropacha means a dog eater, means an outcast, and those days absolutely lawless people. Whether you have discarded your body in Kashi or in a lawless place, holding lawless activities, not law-abiding activities, means you're just somewhere where you have given up the body. The idea being because there is also a lot of flotation in cultural thinking that if you discard your body in Kashi, you get moksha. It's called moksha Kashi for this reason, that. So people think if I die there, I will get moksha. There are ashrams there. There are old age homes now starting in Kashi. That that house, the last moments. They're actually a whole economic revolution in Kashi centered around this idea that if you die in Kashi, you will get moksha. He says, the one who's a Brahmagyani, uska lakshan hi ye hai ki it doesn't matter where he dies. Because he was already Jivan Mukta before. So where the final body is discarded is not even important. So in fact, Shastra says even to sannyasis it is applicable who are still not Brahmagyani. Even to them, it is said, if the body dies, just throw it in the water. Just throw it in the Ganges. It's like you don't need to do last rites. You don't need to do anything because there is no taker of the last rite. So when they take sannyas, they do their own last rites before they take sannyas. So that now everything that has to be done after, if one gets moksha after, this is Vedic parampara. I'm not saying everything happens like that in society today. We have to use our own discernment all the time to see what is right and what is wrong. But Shastra says, here the Smriti Grantha says, that a Brahmagyani, it doesn't matter where he discards the body. Jnana prapti samaye mukta sau vigatashayaha. He is already one who is vigatashayaha. He's already left all ashraya. He's become free of it. At the time of jnana samprapti, it's not prapti, it is samprapti. At the time at which he now received the Gyan once and for all, it's become his own, entirely lifted all shades of Agyan. Mukta Sau, he is now Mukt, here and now. So this is a huge Lakshana of Brahmagyani. And with this, he concludes the book. He says, Iti, in this manner, Sri Shankar Bhagavad Padacharya Pranitaha Tattva Bodha Prakaranam Samaptam. This Prakaranam in the form of Tattva Bodha, which is the Virachitam by Shankar Bhagavad Padacharya Pranitaha, he's composed it. So the ending, of course, says Adi Shankaracharya. So Parampara just accepts it because the knowledge is not contradicting the vision. So it doesn't matter, as I said in the first class. Our gratitude, and again, gratitude is an incomplete word. We can just say receiving the knowledge itself is a complete acceptance of what there is. So Shankara Bhagavad Padacharya, to the Shankara lineage, to the Jnana lineage, to the Acharyas of this lineage of Shastra Vidya, to everyone, our namaskar, because it is a value which cannot be stated. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Prithvi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Kshobarahitah Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva. Om. Oh, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Riddhiji.
Are there any questions you have?
Thank you, Riddhiji.
Couple questions, Ji. वन स्मॉल थिंग, सबसे पहले वो अभी हम प्राप्ति संप्राप्ति की बात कर रहे थे, उसमें कुछ डिफरेंस होता है क्या? इज देयर सम डिफरेंस इन प्राप्ति एंड संप्राप्ति?
No, prapti would just have an ordinary meaning of gain. Samprapti would mean gained totally, completely. Sampurna prapti. So that sam would refer to sampurna. So it kind of makes the flavor richer by adding that samprapti. The author is not leaving any stone unturned. So not just saying prapti. That would be a little short of that flavor of samprapti.
उन्होंने धारण कर लिया, जिसने भी गेन किया, दे हैव.
Second
Diti ji,
question.
now second three questions. One question was, I think I'd mentioned this before about um, the in terms of your karma, um, in terms of desires, how do we, in terms of suppression versus sublimation?
Suppression is when you push the desire out of your perception, conscious perception. Desire means now it has become available as a thought. It's a force that is now thought, which can be recognized. So you recognize a desire. And desire is a force which will seek its fulfillment. So, because behind desire is the thought that I want it, means I will be less if I don't get it. So the idea of lessness, incompleteness of oneself, nobody can accept, because inherently you are a fulfilled person. So you resist from inside the idea that that gives you the idea that if I get this, मुझे कुछ नुकसान होगा, या मुझे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा तो नुकसान होगा, या मिलेगा तो नुकसान होगा, या मेरा कुछ खो जाएगा. So all those ideas that kind of indicate towards our apurnatvam, they will make us restless because it is against the grain. So desire formation itself is adharit on apurnatvam. तो वो शांत होती नहीं है, because behind it is this अविवेक बुद्धि कि मैं पूरी होंगी तो ही तुम्हें शांत होने दूंगी. And it's like telling the mind, you fulfill me, only then I'll give you peace back. You'll be a happy person. There's a conditional happiness associated with it. I can't hear you, Akanksha. In a way, good, because then I can continue talking. I'll finish the answer first. Wait, let me finish it first. So, the idea is that any desire is presupposing the force of me not being full. So the fullness, उसको पूरा करने की एक urgency लगी रहती है हर चीज में. And that is the aviveka buddhi, that we attribute the fulfillment of the desire to our happiness, to my happiness. That is the error in judgment. So those who don't think far off, too far, then they get helpless in fulfilling it. But supposing there are circumstances or situations that do not allow you to fulfill, and definitely there are certain desires that need not be fulfilled, you should not fulfill. Like, for example, my neighbor every day at 4:30 in the morning and at 5:30 in the evening, just when you think you are going to do your own deep study and reflection, will start bang, 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 bang. I may have tolerance for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 months, 1 year. Maybe at some point I'll lose my tolerance and an anger will come. आज जाकर ठोक के आती. Let me also ठोको, like I said, ऊपर नीचे से ऊपर, let ठोको from below. Maybe उनको भी, Now that thought doesn't need to be fulfilled. Now, if that thought is not nipped in the bud, it will gather a force. If it gathers a force, it will become one of the actions that I should not be indulging in, because it is a prohibitory thing. Do not give force to such thoughts, which will become desires tomorrow, which are going to harm you in the process. So, supposing there are certain thoughts that had already gathered in the past, अविवेक है, हमने already उनको strength तो दे दिया है, but even now I cannot fulfill them. So Jiva doesn't have a choice but to push them again behind. Push them and cover the conscious mind with more immediate things to do, or replace it with something else, some other desire, substitute it with some other desire. And this process of substitution, replacement, all this thinking that I have disconnected the desire. A jiva feels, if you even forget about it for some time, you think I'm free of it. But it's not free. This is a very far. Normally, people don't go that far to say I'm free of it. You just forget it, and the tension remains inside. The pressure remains inside at a very subconscious level. It doesn't give you a full relaxation. It doesn't give you a cheerful disposition. It doesn't give you an actual carefreeness, which you think you would have if you fulfilled the desire. So if it's pushed, not seeking an outlet, it becomes suppression. Shastra Vidya is, you do not suppress desires. Some, yes, those that are not very strong, better to suppress them, and with knowledge you eradicate its value. If you see the futility of fulfillment of that desire, you are eradicating the value of why that desire is formed. So automatically the desire gets destroyed, or it gets diminished enough in force. एक thought जैसा रह जाता है जो तंग नहीं करता है, and you just be watchful कि maybe with more of replacement of knowledge, reducing it in the light of knowledge, it will exhaust and you grow out of it. You grow out of the value of that desire. That desire no longer bothers you. That is called sublimation. And sublimation, actually the process of sublimation is, unless until your mind pitches up something which is in the direction of your Purnatvam, which means something higher from your immediate gratification standpoint. When the desire formed is in the direction of your Purnatvam and you go out to fulfill that desire, that any desire below that nature fulfills on its own. So one of the ways of sublimating is pitch high desires, which are high as in universally applicable desire. Higher goals, nobler vision. So pitch your desires so high that you take a lot of people under their fold. That Krishna's Govardhan example is symbolic of that. That you pitch the goal so high that there are a lot of people taking ashray under it. Govardhan ke niche, those who were seeking his, so idea of, there are many symbolisms, I'm only saying one of them. This in the context. So you pitch it so high for your sake that you start living for those things, those desires. Then all these lower desires, they are, even though they are for you, they just get fulfilled on the way. Somehow, this is second part of nature, law, that when you are not focusing on them, they don't grow. And if they don't grow, they don't multiply. So they don't make you more restless and agitated. So what happens when you start directing it towards the right avenue, in the right direction, when you direct the desires, then whatever were the ones that were legitimate, especially illegitimate desires, nature will not provide for you. They will not be fulfilled. You will have to work out of them. But legitimate, small, harmless desires, they will be provided because you are already renounced them. You have given their chase up. A big law of life is what you give up the chase of comes to you. Provided, now it's an incomplete sentence, provided you are chasing something more worthwhile. A lot of people have taken half the value. In society, half the value is popular. You've heard that many times, So that is half. So people stop doing everything and they just say, I'm giving. That leads to suppression. So you're not going to grow ever. You're stunting it. You're stunting your growth. Desires are not harmful. Desires are an indicator for yourself. Harmful are only very small set of desires. They are harmful. By nature, desire is not harmful. What you build desire for can be harmful or not. Good. Yes.
Thank you, Deepti.
Yes,
Deepti
Aditi.
ji, I have a question. So now I'll try and articulate it as best as I can. So Brahmagyani is somebody who recognizes that everything and everyone around them is Brahman, is one, basically, right? With themselves and with everything else. But how would you live in this world without, harming or like not? I mean, just how do you live in the world without affecting anybody else negatively? I mean, there are repercussions to everything, right? Even when you eat a plant body, you're harming a plant, and then that is also Brahman for you if you're a Brahmagyani. So, is being a sannyasi the only way to living as a Brahmagyani in this world? And if not, how can you practice it in your life so that so now we understand the concept, but I'm not sure how we practice, how we would, practice to achieve it. And I have a
Yeah.
follow-up question, just a small one. Is it like a bulb that goes off that, okay, now today I am enlightened? Like yesterday I wasn't, now something happened and now I'm enlightened today? Or is it like a gradual process that you continue to discover and, reach that place of big?
Okay, two questions. The first question is now with this concept of Brahmagyan and with the understanding, as Aditi quotes unquotes, that her understanding of Brahmagyani is the one who sees now non-separation of everything around and oneself. So how can you thereafterwards conduct life, Vyavharik life also, because it will cause injury to someone or the other in the process. So would sannyas be the only way in which you can take to this Brahmagyana life pursuit? That is the first part of the question. So Brahmagyan cannot be lived with Dvaita Buddhi. Jiva Buddhi, as long as we hold, you are not living Brahmagyan. So question will be, it's answered then. Huh? So, okay, I'll keep it short then. So sannyas is not necessary. In fact, sannyas is only for very few select people. The idea of Jivan Mukti is that everyone, Grahast also, can be that. That is why there is the whole Ashtavakra and there is Brihadaranyaka portion. King Janaka is said to be the greatest jnani even for sannyasis. In his court, sannyasis also came to have debates with King Janaka. So while he was doing his actions of a king, what are the responsibilities of a king? While he is performing the responsibilities of a king, he is still now accepted as a Brahmagyani. There are two such examples. So Brahmagyani ka example can be from sannyasa ashram. It can be from grahastha ashram. To represent from grahastha ashram is say, even if his responsibilities are as huge as those of a jnani, they do not contradict the establishment of Brahmagyan. And the test of this is, there is a story that floats around. Honestly, I have never researched the story. It's a hearsay. And I'm just saying it because it's a hearsay and it falls into the context. I'm even forgetting, I'm reminded of this after so long that I'm forgetting the details. King Janaka also used to go to a Gurukul to learn. There was an ashram from where there were other inmates, and King Janaka would go from his palace to the ashram to learn Vedanta Shastra from a guru. And this was like daily routine. One day it so happened, I think this comes in Yog Vashisht if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember the details now. So one day it so happened that the inmates, he was never late. King Janaka was never late for the class. And he would always be there before the teacher came. One day it so happened that King Janaka didn't reach. And it was happening, and the teacher did not start the class. He said he's waiting for King Janaka to come. So there were, suppose in those days, say there was 1620, couldn't have been, population was not as much as we have now, so there must be 1620 in the class. So they were waiting for King Janaka. And this kind of put the other inmates into a mode of comparison, comparing themselves with King Janaka, and further attributing the Guru to have preferential behavior towards King Janaka. So this started some sort of an internal politics in the ashram. So एक आध बार कोई और देर से पहुंचा जानबूझ के, Guru didn't wait, he started the class. फिर ऐसे कुछ after a few months, people in the Gurukul में जो रहते थे, and who believed themselves to be greater students because they had left their homes and everything to study. So they called themselves as more evolved and more sincere than Janaka was. So one day they decided to reach the Guru and ask the Guru, why do you prefer Janaka? Is it because he's a king and he gives such fat donations to the ashram and that's why the ashram's running and blah, 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 blah. Modern twist to the story. So that's what, but this is the kind of thing they must have raised objection to. They're saying that why should you wait for one and did not wait for me and things like that. All that stuff happened. Teacher didn't answer anything at that time. Class started. And suddenly, in the midst of the class, the portion was Atma Vidya. This Mahavakya Prakarnam was the topic. And in the midst of the class, some person comes from the village running, and says that the village is on fire and the palace is on fire. Something like this the story was, and it's on fire. So the minute they heard, everybody in the class heard, they got very restless and agitated. And another person came, the fire is raging, and suddenly there was this people informing it's all burning down, things like that. So all the students except Janaka, everybody got up either to their kutya, if it was the ashram burning, I've forgotten the details, was it the palace burning or was it the ashram burning? I do not know which one was burning, maybe both were burning. But the idea of the story was that everyone got up to protect whatever little they had as possession. So how much would those inmates have as possession? Few pairs of clothes and one chappal and one bhikshaka bowl and very little, whatever they had. But that insecurity gripped them so much that they rushed to save whatever they could of their wealth or possessions. King Janaka did not budge. Topic was continuing, Brahma Vidya. Teacher did not stop teaching. Janaka did not get up. He was only one left there to learn Brahma. Ultimately, the topic concluded with him only sitting in the class. By the time all these people went to wherever they were supposed to, they saw there was no fire. Nothing had happened. It was a staged drama. It was purposefully done. And they come back to the ashram so muh latka hua, I don't know what to say, so muh latka hua because they really realized why was Janaka given that so-called preference, because in the Guru's drishti, he was the only one who was receiving the knowledge. So, he was giving the knowledge, and if all of them were receiving it from that standpoint of Jivatva Buddhi, then actually the Guru is not imparting knowledge. Only Janaka received it. And if the story was to say that the palace was burning, and they all rushed, supposing that was the part of the story, he knew that all of this, or maybe there are two variations of the story. He knew the topic is of mithyatvam. So he knew for sure that he was learning something here. And he decided to go along what was more primary. If the whole palace is anyway burning, he cannot do anything about it. But the present where he was engaged was in what is real and what is mithya. So he chose to stay with what was talking about the real. And ultimately, the Guru never had to explain anything to those students also. Nobody raised a voice after that. And everything went very smooth. So idea is, Janaka was the greatest renunciate, mental, not of physical action. So what your question says is, how do we start practicing it? Qualifying for Brahma Vidya, say, is all actually in the place where we stay with the duties that we have. It is how we approach them. If that shifts, if we learn the knack of shifting that, then we are anyway towards it, whether we are here or we are there. So it is somehow giving up mentally the hold that we have of things in avidya, that we hold on to things as real. Duties are the only thing that we give certain relative values of reality. Whatever are your duties, because that's place where you do Chitta Shuddhi. So everything that falls in the place of Karam Yoga or Upasana Yoga, whatever contributes towards them in day-to-day life activities, and Vyavhar is a fantastic place for self-growth. And I add, actually speaking, I may be biased a bit, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe people can see it as a bias. I think a woman's upadhi is even more conducive for Chitta Shuddhi. There are more challenges that a woman's body faces than a man's body faces, even at a grahastha level. So the chance of Chitta Shuddhi is far higher actually for women, because the nitty-gritties with which you place life and contact life are at a different point, because the upadhi is also different of a woman. Standpoint is different. That's anyway besides the point. It doesn't matter. The gender doesn't matter, really speaking. It's not important. The idea here is that it's the environment where we are, which is absolutely the correct thing. And the approach is by changing how you look at things. And that's why it's a gradual and a build-up of the process. The second part of the question, whether it's a bulb on ekdam se, or is it graduating moksha? It's like, it is both. Really speaking, actually the real point of Jivan Mukti is bulb. It's like a flash of lightning. The last grain till it falls, you're not fully mukt. Even if you hold, as I said, a lesha means a thin strand of thread, a very thin, a silkworm thread of jivatvam in you, you are still in potential samsara. That thin thread, one thin thread of jivatvam can multiply. It's like one seed of orange tree, mango tree. It will multiply again back into many. Whatever you've done will not be lost, but that one has a potential of many. So you will be always juggling up and down. So, that previous work done for your self-growth will give you some relief, but that little held will again open a samsara, that kind of a thing. So, dhire dhire, as knowledge keeps being held in a person, it is that much of a gradual awakening. To that point, it's a gradual process. But ultimately, it becomes that one. It wakes up. That then is no return. Till then, there is the gati, up and down. Yeah?
Tiji, The other day, pata nahi, I don't know where that person was quoting from, कि after Jivan Mukti also there are 3 or 4 stages.
Krama Mukti and all that. Was it that?
Hanji, Hanji, हाँ. So I
Satya
wanted a little
Mukti,
bit of.
Krama Mukti.
Uh,
That is not, after Jivan Mukti, there really doesn't matter how many stages are there. It's not really, Krama Mukti is not, again, these are just given as explanations. Krama Mukti is not really Jivan Mukti. Krama Mukti is when you are already mukt, but you are still not recognizing that you're mukt. So at death, you go to Brahmalok for a period of time and you stay in some heaven somewhere for some time. And from Brahmalok also, but there is a big problem there. Brahmaji will be supposed to be giving you Vedanta class on everything is Brahman. And Brahmaji is a busy person, so he doesn't always stay in Brahmalok. And sometimes he gives it his delegated work, he delegates it to other things. And then sometimes you are too intoxicated to listen. You're like in a class on planet, we are not always available. So in Brahmalok also, even if Brahmaji is taking a Upanishad class on the Tattvamasi portion, we may not be fully alert. But the idea is, once you go to Brahmalok, normally speaking, you get Gyan, complete the Gyan there, and from there then you get Mukti. That is Krama Mukti. Satya Mukti is direct after death, you get liberated. But not while you are in life. So in life, though you are a mukt person, but because you are vyavharically there. Now, these terms are actually not very relevant. So I may have to revise them also. Sadhya Mukta, I don't know when I forgot about them, because though they are in society as stages, they are not at all meaningful in the light of, say here, like from viewpoint of Shankara, Jivan Mukti, how does it matter? Once you're a mukt, you're a mukt, no? Everything else is illogical after that. Now, whether it comes later or it comes now, it doesn't matter. Question is not what happens after. Question is, what am I doing now to get it? Do you see do you get the spirit of the question? What is the point of knowing after my mukti will I become mukt or not? Question is, how am I going to become mukt? After that क्या
That's
होगा?
right.
We will talk about it after that. जरूरत भी पड़ेगी कि नहीं, जैसे अभी suddenly, that clarity. I don't have to give a long explanation, because the minute the question is seen in the right light, it dissolves away. Now the whole world is seen as adharit. What will be a Jnani's perception, only a Jnani will know. We will speculate. So why is put into speculation when the Shastra is so clear to say what is the path of your Jnana? You focus on that. Don't focus on the Jnani, focus on yourself. Is that okay?
Neeti for us, like, especially for us newcomers into the Vedanta, to receive the Vedanta knowledge, I think the sadhana chatushtaya is some place, we should really invest a lot of our time initially in, because that's what will build the strong foundation of us, understanding Maya and everything else that comes after.
Absolutely. In fact, I would correct here just one sentence. There is new and old का कोई concept नहीं है. Sometimes a newer mind is receiving better than a conditioned mind. So you may be receiving it in the right spirit also. Idea is definitely, and I'm emphasizing it because Vedanta this has not got enough emphasis, because it is presumed that you already have sadhana chatushtayam, that's why you have an interest. So let's get down to Mahavakya Vichar. And life is still as ragadveshi, and life is still as confused, and life is still, it doesn't make sense. Better would be take the tougher path. It may look tougher. Better is to take the tougher path. Looks longer, but it may be the most worthy at the end. Because one, a sadhana chatushtayam guarantees jnanam. Jnanam doesn't guarantee sadhana chatushtayam. In the sense, intellectual jnanam. In fact, you don't have jnanam if you don't have sadhana chatushtayam. So my knowing it is one thing. Like I said, the whole class has gone on that, you know. So you do keep acquiring jnanam. It doesn't mean that till I have become, no. That heard jnanam also keeps adding to clarity to make it more and more shuddh. So there is a place of shravanam also in chitta shuddhi. But for us, as in grahastha, as all of you, where you're coming from, question, yes, I think dissolving ragadvesh as much as possible, and that mind and its bhav, when they arise, that's a huge, huge change. Rest falls into place for certain. Everything falls into place.
Deepti I have one question, but it's not text related, it's clubhouse related. So now that this class is ending, will you be continuing that class in the evenings only, or would you want to move it in the morning? I don't know, because I know that earlier it was scheduled in the evenings because of this parallel class running.
Also because there were expected to be few people who are different time zones.
Okay.
So if we are in the evening, then they have a morning time zone that they can, join in with. Okay. So it kind of because that platform is a broader platform, so it kind of keeps it without upsetting our time. So since 5:30 I have fixed as an evening class time kind of a thing, so only with that idea.
Okay.
And yes, thank you. So because now, this is literally a graduation ceremony. And what does it mean by a graduation ceremony? You graduate to the next text and in your inner perception. So once this whole base is finished, I will once again say thank you, because for every communication to complete, you have to be there also. So thank you to each one of you who've really held it for a whole year long. And some of your submissions, I think all of you sitting here almost all of you have submitted, have been really wonderful and extraordinary. Yeah, Akanksha, yes, you have not. But that's okay. Your understanding is there. Submissions were just a way of bringing you to understand it and hold it for yourself, basically. Because, when you repeat it, yeah, it comes together. Because definitely in time, this is going to get diminished. It won't be in memory. But when you will look at it at any point, suddenly it'll flood back. I know it floods back. That's the reason why I said, but I cannot force people to do it, because each one to their own. But I emphasized it enough to say that if you are ever wanting to, that one word will open up. It's like opening a file. आपने बंद रख, even जब वो बंद हो जाएगी, you'll get engaged in doing other things, but the minute that file word will open, the whole information will come forward, because that repetition went at the right time. You invested that time and that effort into doing it. So thank you so much for it.
वो access चाहिए YouTube videos का आपके.
No, definitely. I'm still debating on it, because anyway, Facebook पे तो it'll always be there. The videos are, I don't know what to do.
पता नहीं ना कब निकाल दे. I mean, I'm
that
not
is
sure
true.
about that.
That is also very true. I don't know. Also,
I was contemplating the idea whether I should download all your videos, when you said
no,
that.
you don't need to. I'm going to give you all of you will get the access of it. This is only, the idea is that those who, like some of you also have, from this batch, from all of you also, they said we are just listening to it. Vedanta, as long as you have a person to tell you, should always be taken from a person. YouTube was always meant to revise it, because Vedanta is not one hearing. You can never get the whole spirit. In fact, after 5 hearings, you will suddenly see what was being said. Like I'm saying, Tattva Bodha, this Shruti and Smriti. Today morning, I suddenly realized that, Shruti and Smriti, he's just quoting. Till then, it's a huge, big value around this is quotation. Suddenly, it fell into place that, he's completing the text. So he's quoting like the Parampara would quote. It's a vyavhar that is done to give due justice to the text that the author is saying. मैंने नहीं कहा, ये सब श्रुति कह रही है, that क्योंकि ये ब्रह्म ज्ञानी की बात हो रही थी. So Tarati Shokam Atmavit is quoted. That's why. So yes, I'm going to give you access if I decide to make it private. If it's left public, then it's anyway public. But I am thinking, I'm still debating pros and cons. And even if I decided, I'll keep it open for people to access it somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Now that I won't have this class, I'll take some time to.
I think you can make it unlisted, so only people who have the link can.
That's what I was planning to do. Yeah. So, at least, or else if anybody wants, they can request for it, then I can send them the link again. We'll do that.
Ji, is there a difference between so matlab Brahmagyani and Atmavid? Can Atmavid be thought of someone as a slightly matlab like how someone who studied Tattva Bodha and is not yet completely a Brahmagyani, has not realized, but आत्मा को जानता है का मतलब यही मतलब is it the full meaning or is it like someone who has a little bit of this knowledge? Could it I mean, just came to me.
It can probably cover the whole ground. The minute you have information also, you should be called an Atmavid because this information now you cannot undo. So to that an extent, you're an Atmavid. But Shastra Drishti would really call Atmavid as one who knows Atma as oneself. Brahmagyan is Atmavid. But in tradition, even a student of Vedanta is called an Atmavid. Even while you're studying Vedanta, you're still an Atmavid because you're gaining the knowledge of the subject Atma, which is you yourself.
Deepti ji, I had one more question. इसमें सदगुरु की बात आई थी. So in terms of gurus, etc., I don't know if this is the right question to ask, but
I may have to edit it.
That, Hanji, of course. But I'm just saying that in terms of gurus, because you see these days there's so many people who, like you said, are not interested in the jnanam, but they are following gurus for the anugraha so that their life becomes simpler. And then there are others who follow gurus for the jnanam but how they also say that even after the guru leaves their body, you can still receive their anugraha and so on and so forth. So वो सब नहीं समझ आता कभी. Sometimes you feel that how you
yes, this is an accepted thing in parampara that see, just as you have Pitralok, a lok where your ancestors may be abiding, and you have Pitra Anugraha. You have as I said, these all fall in the realm of karma. So there's no need to understand in details some of the things. If you want to accept it, accept it. If you don't want to accept it, it's your choice. But Shastra would not dismiss it. ये सब नहीं होता है, because if you're dismissing it, you're dismissing a whole realm of a possible existence that your eyes can't reach. It's a possibility. So you can't deny it, you can't verify it, but you can't deny it also. It's like my ears won't hear ultrasounds, but bat will hear. So must I have bat ears to hear ultrasound or to accept ultrasonic waves? I know ultrasonic waves are there by inference. So, Guru after death also, but that really is how you relate it. Like I mean, all these areas, that's why personally I do not encourage, I do not dwell on, I do not discuss them, because the whole knowledge is saying, now your life. What are you doing with it? You keep your focus on that. That's it. What happens to that and what all these things are irrelevant beyond a point. If they have to come to you, you will get them. And you will know that's truth or not. Like I said, false hai ki nahi hai snake. Once and for all, I'll know it myself. But without just somebody telling me another answer is not going to clarify it, because answers will only be two. Hai ya nahi hai. You will have only two set of people in creation. One set of person will say कि हाँ, after death of the guru also वो अनुग्रह मिलता है. The other set of person will be saying ये सब बकवास है. There can only be two set of people. Third set of people will say I don't care, and the fourth set of people will say don't worry, concentrate on your life. If you will get it, you will get it. If it is there, you will get it. If you've earned it, you will get it. So don't worry. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Deepti. That's
Thank
I think the
you.
right way to look at it.
Yeah, a lot of things in society, you have to put them into perspective of your life. What is right for you and what applies to you. Everything doesn't need to be right or wrong. It can be left as it is. We don't have to figure it out. If it'll ever be obstructive of your self-knowledge, you will also get the right knowledge at that time, if you're sincere. But a mere curiosity around this doesn't satisfy. And there will be no praman for it. Because it could be you will never have a praman valid till you become the praman. Now, Vivekananda asked Ramakrishna, do you see God? And Ramakrishna said, I see God. Yeah. Now, pure Vedantic person, when we got into Vedantic knowledge, we were said, you can't see God, you can't hear God, you can't feel God, senses are his. And here, Vivekananda became Vivekananda. His whole life changed on that one word answer that he asked Ramakrishna, do you see God? And Ramakrishna says, I see God. He was not lying. But do we even have that question in us, like Vivekananda had? That's why a lot of these things that may be there or not there, let us first see, are we equipped to ask that question ourselves? Are we deserving an answer for it in the right manner? If we have earned an answer, there will be an answer. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And truly, Ishvara bless you all.
And happy Teachers' Day.
Oh, yes. Thank you to you too, whoever's a teacher. And all of us are teachers somewhere or the other. So happy Teachers' Day. And yes, whoever can continue, I would really say it'll be a great thing to continue the Upadesha Sara going forward. And then we may have that little discussion at some point to see before you start Gita, if we start Gita, when we start Gita. At this time, I'm going to, because the whole mode of communication is going through such a flux of change, I have few things to figure out. I don't know which medium. I have to understand a lot of things. All this is too technical now, and you need a mind free of it. So I'll just try and invest some time into seeing how to go ahead. And till then, of course, thanks to Priyanka, she's given me even a simple thing like a Google input. I was exchanging my Sanskrit typing from the laptop to the phone, because phone had the Sanskrit input, so I would have to give, all the initial classes slides were done like that. So I would have to put them into the cloud drive, and from there I would make an adjustment of Sanskrit writing from the phone, then back to the laptop. And at the Priyanka says there is a Google input, just type on the Google input, copy paste on the laptop. How much energy I have saved, I can't tell you. I am so thankful for that information. So, there are a lot of such things that have come into the society that, we were not using ever, which you need to now be. And then with, all this, if I make, say, classes on YouTube, say another topic like Uddhav Gita, which I may probably never take on actual format of Vedanta class, because Vedanta structured format is Tattva Bodha, then one of these Upadesha, just Prakarna Grantha 1 or 2, and then Gita, and then Upanishads, and then Brahma Sutra. So a lot of by-side information is there in a lot of other texts. So sometimes you just feel that you want to do those. So I don't know which form, whether do a podcast or do a YouTube or do physical classes may be a little more strenuous for it. So it's much better to leave it to people to listen on their own pace and availability, like some people are doing. That frees me of the responsibility also. मैंने अपनी तरफ से कह दिया, अब आप क्या करते हैं, आपकी मर्जी. So which physical class will not, which keeps me in a
humble submission, because the physical class really motivates you to sort of come and listen to it live. I know, I think I don't know, the maza of listening to it live and interacting live. I think as human beings we still crave for that
I know.
I think, of course, you always go back and revise and stuff, but it'd be
No, there
great
is
if we
no
could just.
replacement for it. It is just that I have to figure a few things, or that there are a lot of other factors also that need to be taken into account.
And this
So
time
as
has
much,
sort
but
of
anyway,
become
I'm
set
still
for
having
this.
the physical classes. So for you people, because the Krama is Upadesha Sar, so I'm holding on. The Mundaka class is still going on. Upadesha Sar is the Krama for you people. So I am actually taking physical classes still. You are attending or not is right now up to you. My classes haven't stopped. Physically I'm there. Okay. And I'm following the Krama that I am convinced about. So it gives me a lot of satisfaction and a lot of a clarity of conscience also that flows into the conviction of saying what I have to say, because I know that your appreciation of knowledge will increase a lot more for yourself. This is a huge investment everybody makes in their life. Studying Vedanta is completely going on a parallel road in life, because your life has to continue and then you are also continuing the study. And that's a huge input. You cannot not get the best out of it. Well, it has to give you the best. So if you have, like, supposing haphazard, so something from Upanishad comes, this is where like Akanksha, your questions, not the Sadhya, and if I have not spoken of it, there must be a reason I'm not speaking about it. So unless the context starts, I don't want to introduce things that are confusing in society anyway. So let's keep to what brings us growth. And by staying in that protocol, and not mixing up too many other ideas and hearings and too many, because every teacher will have a correct standpoint from where they are saying. And I maintain this. Stick to it's almost like saying, supposing I was born a Christian, no way would I be doing Vedanta today. If I was born in a Christian family, I would have studied the Bible. That's the kind of, you're born where you're born, to what you're born to unfold something. It's right for you. You don't have to change anything. If that knowledge was going to be enough for me, I would have been born there. If this knowledge is enough for me, if that was whatever, I don't know. I'm open to. So here and now, this knowledge has come to us by our birth. Now, next, maybe I'm born a Muslim, who knows? I'll be fighting with the other side. Now here I'm fighting with those people who have strict ideas about modern approach to Hinduism. There maybe I'm doing it. Hello.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. This is the sweetest I ever heard. Jai Shri Krishna. हाँ? मैं बहुत अच्छी. आप कैसे हो? मैं बहुत अच्छी हूँ. नहीं, मैं तो बहुत अच्छी हूँ. ठीक नहीं हूँ. मैं बहुत अच्छी हूँ. आप कैसे हो?
बोलो.
क्या
हो गया? मैं अच्छी हूँ. She was also trying to say what you were saying.
Good. God bless. God bless. God bless you. Jai Jai.
Jai Jai कर दो.
Jai Jai.
नानू.
अच्छा.
नानू भी है.
अब नानू की रिक्वेस्ट आ गई कि नानू से बात कराओ.
Okay. Bye bye. Hari Om. Namaste everyone. So we will. Any more question? Is that okay, Akanksha? Yeah? Everyone fine? So as far as I'm concerned, concluding it, I'm still taking physical classes, which is on Clubhouse, Upadesha Sar, and on Tuesdays Mundaka, but you're prohibited from listening to Mundaka for now. Rest is still your choice. You don't have to tell me. And I will answer no question pre-digested, no question will be answered if you are doing that. Rest, any of the Prakanda Granthas, you're free now to attend, because all the Prakanda Grantha level information is there.
Yeah.
I will abstain from listening to Mundaka until after I've studied the Gita with you. So I'm really hoping, and I think I can safely put a desire that we want to study the Gita with you. I think this is a safe desire.
We will try and do that. Only thing is, for Gita, we'll have a more stricter schedule, because to complete it, we need more classes. So I have to be equipped for that also. So for now, I think I will disconnect the Blue Jeans completely, the subscription, until we are starting with maybe. Let's see how it goes. I'm not sure. I'm not committing anything. I'm terrible at commitment of this nature because it kind of, your independence gets shackled. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I haven't ended Facebook. Take care and see you in the evening.